Hi, welcome to the Basics of Demand lecture. So, what I'd like you to do is take out your guided notes for the basics of demand, and we will go through some of the major concepts concerning demand. Economists study markets. A market is a place where people come together to buy and sell goods and services. This whole unit is about perspective or point of view. So you have to think of what are people wanting to do when they buy goods, and then what are people wanting to do when they sell goods. Demand is the willingness and ability of consumers to buy goods or services at a specific period of time. So we have to look at those two root words. One is willingness, is ready to buy a good or service, and ability, having the means to buy a good or service. So I may want a Porsche 11, which retails at $98,000, but my bank won't loan me the money, nor do I have the cash on hand to buy it. So although I might be willing to buy a Porsche 911, I don't have the ability to do it. So we have to both have the willingness to want a product and then also the ability to purchase it, which basically means the money or able to get to market to purchase it. The law of demand. The quantity demanded varies inversely with price, all things being constant, aka the price effect. So this is the law of demand. So all you have to do is think of it like this. As price goes up, the quantity demanded, which is what people want to buy at a specific price, goes down. As price goes down, the quantity demanded goes up. So think about a bottle of pop. Let's talk about a bottle of Mountain Dew that may be in the machine out in the cafeteria. So at $1.25, people are willing to buy, let's say, 5 bottles a week. So if they decide to lower the prices to 75 cents, people might be willing to buy 10 or 12 bottles a week. If the price goes up to $2, somebody will probably want to only buy maybe 1 or no bottles a week. So if the price goes up on a product, what people are willing and able to buy goes down. And as price goes down, what people are willing and able to buy goes up. This is the law of demand. So basically you can represent this law with these 4 arrows. Also QD, or quantity demanded, as it'll be referred to throughout this unit. So when you see quantity demanded, I always want you to think of QD. Also, I want you to think of as price as P. So when we get into talking these terms, price will be represented by P, quantity demand will be represented by QD. Makes life way easier for you. How we look at the demand, the demand schedule and curve. Demand schedule is merely the story. It's the table that lists what people are willing and able to buy at certain prices. So a schedule is a table that lists the quantity of a good that a person will purchase at each price. So let's think about that Mountain Dew real quick. At 50 cents, people will probably buy a lot of Mountain Dew. At $3, they would probably buy 0. And in between there, at $1, $1.50, $2, we can come up with a number that people would be willing to buy. So, also this is a bit of a review on the math part. The vertical axis is always P. I'll show you right here. Right there, P. So the vertical axis is always P. And then the horizontal axis is always quantity demanded. So, we plot these points on a schedule. So price here, if we went equally, so every block must be equal. So we go 50, $1, $1.50, $2, $2.50, $3. This would be the price. So if we say, okay, at $1, how much would people be willing to buy? We would go over to the line and come down, and this would be the quantity, and this would be amounts. 1 bottle, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way out. So we can find out how much people are willing to buy at $1, how much people are willing to buy at $1.50, at $2, at $3. Now the other part of this is that the demand curve always slopes down. Demand goes down. Demand down. So if you ever find yourself wondering what the slope, which one is which, because supply will go up. But demand always goes down. So think if you're standing there on a pair of skis or roller skates, which way would you go? You would go down. So this line creates the picture of Bottles of Mountain Dew at $3, $2.50, $2, $1.50, $1.50, and then down to 0. Your origin here, the axis right here, this is always 0 both ways. What is the difference between demand and quantity demanded? People often get confused, and this is why we spend time to go through this. Demand is the schedule, the story or curve, the picture that shows various amounts of product that consumers are willing and able to purchase at each series of possible prices during a specific time. So, Michael has a demand for ice cream. That means he has a willingness and ability to buy ice cream. Now, quantity demanded refers to how many units will be demanded at a particular price. So, the example here, suppose that the price of ice cream is $3 per cone and Michael buys 2. Therefore, the ice cream cones, the 2 ice cream cone is the quantity demanded at $3. So, demand is this whole schedule. How much people are willing to buy at 50 cents, $1, $1.50, $2, $2, $3, on and on. Quantity demanded is a specific point in that. Quantity demanded would be at $1.50, how many Mountain Dews would people purchase? 5. At $3, how many would people be willing to purchase? Probably 0. So demand is the whole story, and quantity demanded is a page in that story. Movement along a demand curve versus a shift of the curve. Remember, there's a difference between quantity demanded and demand, which we just discussed. Markets never stand still. There are always outside factors that change the actual price of the good or how much is demanded together. So the market is always moving and changing. It's never the same. So what happens is there's these factors that affect it. And basically demand for goods will affect price. So whether something is trendy, whether like snow shovels in winter are in way more demand than they are in the summer, as is salt. Okay? Bathing suits and beach balls don't sell that well in the middle of January. In June, they're a hot item. So just kind of think about things like that. A change in price creates a change in the quantity demanded. So if the Mountain Dew in the machines went from $1.25 to $1.75, people would grumble and probably buy less. So think about that Mountain Dew. If it went from $1.25 to $1.75, how much less would people buy? So somebody that buys one every single day might cut down. Now some people might not cut down, but most people would probably cut down quite a bit. A change in one of the determinants of demand causes a change in demand. This is a shift in the curve. We're going to talk about this in a moment. I'm going to show you an example. The determinants of demand are things other than price that affect demand. So when one of those, the whole line moves. Okay, let's take a look at change in quantity demanded for a moment. So we can talk about this as pops, right? So if Mountain Dew in the machine was $1, people would be willing to buy 8 a week. At $2, people are probably going to cut down to 4. And you can see the shift in the quantity demanded from 8 to 4. And then also here's the shift in price, right? And you have point A representing the original dollar. And when price goes up to $2, the quantity demanded goes down, just like the law of demand said. What would happen to the demand of bottles of energy drink if the price is doubled? So think about that for a second. If, let's say, we'll use a brand like Monster. Let's say Monster doubled in prices. What would happen to the QD? Would it increase or decrease? It would definitely decrease according to the law of demand. So, a decrease in the quantity demanded would definitely occur if prices increased. Look. So what would this look like in a graph form? So what we do here is take a look at what might happen. So it looks just like that. Number 2, what would happen to the demand of the bottles of energy drink if they went on sale so the price decreased? So if price decreases, what would happen to QD? It would increase in quantity demand. So the price, although it went down, people would want more because Monsters go, let's say they're usually $3. They're on sale for $2. People would definitely buy more. Let's take a look at what this looks like on a graph. There. Goes from $1 to 50 cents, so you can see that the quantity demanded goes from $8 to $12. So you just draw these supports out. $1, 8, 50 cents, 12. That's what it looks like on a graph. Why do these changes in price cause movement along the demand curve? So you can see prices here, quantities here, and demand is going down or sloping down. Delta. This is the Greek letter delta. In economics, this represents change. Those of you that had chemistry, this might look familiar. It does mean change. So why do changes, or delta, in the price curve cause movement along the line? We will pick up with that tomorrow. I will see you then. Thank you.